CFB Nation, what's happening? Brian Smith back with another edition of a 2025 recruiting profile at a position that I think is going to be very good in the South this year, and that would be running back. I have 9 different players I'm going to talk about. I'll give the list here in just a second, but this is a collection of talent that comes in all shapes, all sizes. They've all got major offers. We're talking Southeastern Conference, ACC, Big 10, Pac-12, and Big 12. This is not your average group of running backs, though, for a couple other reasons. So before I get to this list and talking about the Harlem Berries of the world, let's talk about frame and expectation compared to what yourself and, quite frankly, me as well, have thought of when we watched running backs throughout our lifetimes. If you're like me, you've seen a lot of players go into the line and try to power their way through to get extra yards for 30, 40 years. Okay. That may still be the case to a certain degree and in specific situations, but at the same time, this is more about guys that are being dynamic, regardless of size, between the tackles, screens, playing in the slot. Special teams are still very big for a lot of these guys, and no matter their size, there's a couple of guys that are bigger running backs here that I'm really excited about. They catch the football. They'll catch the ball over their shoulder. The days of a 30 carry, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and you caught maybe 1 check down for 4 yards are no more. The spread offense, it's predicated how you do things differently. Not only do they got to run, catch, play some special teams, they also need to be able to block. A few of these guys were smart in their film. They showed blocking. Not just for the quarterback, but like on a sweep, a few of the players like Harlem Berry, who I'll show here in a second. Harlem is a speedster. He was sub 4.4 at Future 50 down at IMG Academy, and he was blocking on some sweep plays for his teammate. This is a guy that averaged over 10 yards a carry last year and has an offer pretty much from every major program in the South, and he's blocking. That will get you some attention. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is just toughness. Sometimes you do have to gain a few yards when there's not a lot to be there. A couple of the plays that I watched on this film from Harlem, for instance, like he gained maybe 5 yards, 10 yards, but he broke 2 or 3 tackles to do it. And there's a couple other guys like that. So I'm going to kind of go over the list a little bit. Harlem Berry, he's from the New Orleans area. Anthony Turbo Rogers, he's at IMG Academy. But first, for his first couple of years, he was at Pike Road. That's just outside Montgomery. And he played slot prior to moving over to running back his sophomore year. And he had some big numbers. I'll get into that. Taevion Swint, one of my favorite guys to be around, 7-on-7, combine, etc. Great kid. Plays at Osceola High School in Kissimmee, not that far from me here in Central Florida. He's been really good in 7-on-7 for 24K. But when he gets the football on 1st and 10, man, even in an 8-man box, he can hit you. Justin Thurman, this is another example of why you can't just judge a book by its cover. He had a guy in front of him last year at Tampa Jesuit that got 95% of the carries and should have. He signed with Temple, really good football player. But Thurman, in his limited time as a running back, showed a burst, showed power between the tackles, played some defense, some special teams. He's got major offers from schools like Florida and Notre Dame. That's a great sign for his future. This one is a kid that I don't think enough people know about, and I'm going to try to promote him a little bit more, even though he's got offers, but the state of Mississippi doesn't get enough attention. Akylin Deer, he plays at Quitman, Mississippi, and he is a really good football player, a little more traditional, a little bit in terms of his size, and he can, if you wanted to, he could run the old school I formation, toss sweep, kind of like, guys like Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson used to do. But he can also move the pile in a different way, and that's take a screen or get a sweep or something, cut all the way across the field, and then break a couple tackles to finish it off. He can zig and zag like some of the guys that are 5'9" and 175 pounds. Justin Baker, this is another great story of a guy waiting his turn. There's a lot of them on this list. He's at Buford. Now, if you're familiar with the South, Buford is a program just a little bit northeast of Atlanta. Always has players. Justice Haynes was there last year. He signed with the University of Alabama, arguably as natural a running back as there was in the class of 2023. Offers from every school. You name it, Ohio State and all the schools up north came after him. Came down to Alabama, Georgia, and he decided on Alabama. Next, this is a kid I'm kind of curious to see what he does this next year because he's transferred. Deandre Desinor, he played at North Broward Prep, and then he has transferred to American Heritage. He's in South Florida. He is a jitterbug, but when he hits the hole, man, you better have your guys in line because if not, it's over. You can strike up the band. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield, do whatever, but he can score anytime he gets it. Really like his power for a short, stocky guy. Has some power in those legs to burn through tackles. Ousmane Kromah, he's from Lee County, one of the best programs in the central Georgia area. They've been a powerhouse for a long time. Lee County is really good. It's in Leesburg, near Albany. And this is a program that has a weight room that you would look at and think it's kind of like an NFL or a college place. It means something. Seeing how he ran angry. Again, he's a guy that you could have ran toss, sweep, gap, power, and been pretty much done. And he could get you 100 yards based on 20 years ago or whatever. But now we're looking at a situation where I was at Future 50, and this is a kid that was catching the ball over his shoulder. So when you look at it that way, and you've got a 200-pound running back, 5'11", 6 foot, big, powerful hips, strong legs, and you can tell he's seen a leg sled and a squat rack, and he can take your guy out into the slot and beat him. Again, that shows the diversity of the running backs down south in the class of 25. Last but not least, this is kid's just fun. Marquise Henderson, he goes by Keese, homeopath in Belton, South Carolina. Speed, more speed, and a whole lot of quickness to go on top of it. He ran the ball quite a bit between the tackles. Again, alluded to that. Would break people off in short area space, make them look bad, but he would also grind out some yards. He's maybe 170 pounds, but man, can he scoot. So this is a great list of players, and I want to get into it here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the recruitments first, then I'll show film. This is the part that a lot of people may not know. Even though I'll admit every kid on my list here has major offers. Not going to deny that. But how they've been assembled is a little bit different. I picked some of the kids on this list, not just because they were good, but they also caught the ball and did all the little things that you would want to gain offers, and they were backups like Thurman. Again, I don't think he had 50 carries last year at Jesuit. Rogers was a backup last year, or his freshman year, and then as a sophomore got his chance. But even after he became a superstar, had all the offers, he went to IMG to compete with more guys. That's incredible. Justin Baker at Buford, he took his time, went through the process. Now he gets the chance to be the guy at Buford. I respect the effort and the patience, which you don't see much of in society today, for these kids to do it. So I'm just going to kind of go down some of the list here and talk about the recruitments before I show film, and we'll go from there. Harlem Berry, Metairie, Louisiana, St. Martin's, statistically had over 2,000 yards last year. His recruitment, I will be surprised, very surprised if he doesn't end up at LSU, but he still has Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, pretty much the entire SEC, among others, coming after him. Harlem Berry is a kid that has the ability to basically take over a game with his shiftiness. When I show the film here in a little bit, you'll understand, but punt return, kick return, special player. I think he's a national top 25 kid, and so do the recruiting services for the most part. Next up, Anthony Turbo Rogers. His situation was a little more unique and surprising in some ways, but then again, maybe not. The Montgomery area is more known for Auburn, but of course they went through all that turmoil. When you go through that much with the coaching changes and all that, it makes it tough. They had actually lost his teammate the year before, running back to Ole Miss. So that kind of puts things in perspective. but he's committed to Alabama. I'm curious to see if Turbo takes any visits because he still has all the offers. And his ability to make a play at any time will make it very easy for him, at least, to take a visit whenever he wants. It's kind of hard for Alabama to drop him as good as he is. So we shall see. We shall see. Next, Taevion Swint. This kid might be the most, and I'm not saying he is this player, but reminds me the most of Emmitt Smith. And the reason I say that is his forward lean and his stature. He's around 5'10", kind of like Emmitt. Emmitt might have been 5'9", whatever. But he has a natural forward lean, really powerful legs. And his recruitment is also one that's technically over because he's committed to UCF. But Florida and Miami and all these other schools, they're not going to stop recruiting that kid. Whether or not he's going to take visits, I have no idea. But I do know he really does love UCF. And he had offers from pretty much everybody. I think he just kind of wants to stay home. Big John Walker is already at UCF. That's a former teammate of his who's enrolled early for the Knights. And Derek LeBlanc just transferred there from Oklahoma. So maybe he wants to just be another guy from Kissimmee, Osceola to kind of carry on that pipeline. But Gus has got it going on at Osceola. Next up, this is the one that I just find it amazing. But this is recruiting in 2023, headed all the way through till Lord only knows when. This is Justin Thurman in a nutshell. Barely played much tailback. Did help out on special teams. When he did play tailback, he hit some big plays and was corner. When you can play corner and you have feet, like he could be recruited at that spot, you have a chance to be an elite player. He's got Florida. He's got Notre Dame. He's got several other schools around the South, Kansas State, Iowa State, all kinds of programs have offered him. He went up to Notre Dame's camp. I think Notre Dame's probably in pretty good shape for him, but he could still end up somewhere else too. Again, he's got 2 years of high school left. Maybe there's another program, but very articulate kid. Again, though, he waited his turn to make it happen. So we'll see if Notre Dame can pull him out of the state of Florida or not. Next up, this is the guy that I personally think needs a lot more attention, being from the state of Mississippi. Akylin Deer. Quitman is along the Alabama border. It's about halfway to Meridian from Mobile, just kind of middle of nowhere. They've always had some players, though. He's a little bit like, well, a 1990 running back you would see in the Big Ten, say at Michigan State or something. But he has the speed and quickness you would think of more today that a 5'9", 180 kid would have. And that probably explains the following. Among others, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida, Florida State, Penn State, and Michigan State. And I'm not even close to listing all the offers for Deer. Listed as 6'1", 200. I think with his frame, he's going to be a 215, 220 kid. And he could even be slightly bigger than that, depending on how he wants to fill out. But this is another guy that can play outside the tackles and not just be a Big Ten style running back from 20, 30 years ago. He has that kind of ability to make things happen in space. So his offer list is quite frankly justified. Next up, and this is another really talented player, but I don't know beyond just listening to the coaches at Buford how you're going to rank him. I mean, I know Buford smashed most of the teams they played last year before they finally got knocked out in the playoffs. But Justin Baker is a diminutive guy, but really strong with incredible balance. The film will show that here in a minute. For those of you going to watch on YouTube, this is a special, special player in that regard. He really controls his body after he gets into a contact situation, whether he initiates or not. And that's why some of his offer list, the Alabamas have offered, and he was the starter or the backup to the starter that ended up signing with Alabama. He has the Tennessees and the Florida States and all those schools after him. And again, he wasn't a starter. This is an incredible phenomenon we're seeing here in the South. They find kids and they scout them and they evaluate them differently than they used to be. Used to, you had to have the starter stats. You had to go through a season to get those kind of offers. These kids are sophomores in high school, and you're seeing a completely different trend. So keep that in mind. Next, after you see Deandre Desinor against some lower level competition in the greater Palm Beach area, you're going to be like, well, I feel sorry for them. For those of you going to watch this on YouTube, let's see what happens when he goes to American Heritage. I mean, they've also got Byron Lewis. I mean, it's about as good a 1-2 punch as you're going to find in America at running back. But this kid, he's not quite as big as Byron, but he's got power, and he is electric. The power combination is quite a bit, honestly, like Justin Baker. And he tore it up last year. Let me see if I could look up a few stats here. Deandre Desinor last year, 10.7 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns, 1,248 yards, at least according to Max Prep. So playing in an offense that has a lot of talent all across the board, where you can't focus on anything, and they could rotate him and Byron. Byron could have been on this list too, by the way. He's another future 50 kid. I just picked some random guys to kind of finish it off. This could have been 20 deep. There's so many good running backs down south. Desinor is going to be the shot out of the cannon guy. Byron's pretty fast too, but he's a little bigger. You talk about an incredible 1-2 punch. That's why he's already got all the offers too. Deandre is going to be probably a 30 offer guy minimum, if not more. And he's also a kick return guy. Can't have enough of those. I'm telling you, special teams in these big ball games for teams trying to get into the playoff, it's huge. Absolutely huge. Desinor is a human highlight reel on those kind of situations. Don't kick him the ball. Don't allow him to get the ball in the flat or out in the slot. He's going to eat you up. And Ousmane Kromah is the traditional running back. The way you look at him, talked about him a little bit. His offer list, he's got a ton. But when I interviewed him the other day at Future 50, the schools that he mentioned the most, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, those are the schools he primarily talked about. But he's not in any rush. He's the most patient of this entire list in terms of looking at it and saying, this is somebody I'm interested in, but I'm going to just kind of go through the process. He could be the one that makes the latest decision out of this group. Wouldn't surprise me. Really humble kid, really nice. He's the kind of guy that fits Lee County High School in Georgia well, very laid-back community. He's a great guy to be around. Finally, my guy, Marquise Henderson. I know the least about him because he's from Honea in South Carolina, and that is a program that's always had a few guys, but I don't think it's a real big school. I don't know a ton about it, but seeing him being shot out of a cannon, the Clemsons and South Carolinas, the Virginia Techs, Georgia, all those schools recruiting, the only question is where is he going to end up? He's the smallest player in terms of weight on this list, at least based on the film and what he was listed at too. 165 pounds is what I saw him at. Maybe he's gained some weight since last year and he's added that. But you're talking about a guy that when he hit the hole, even if there were one or even two guys there, he would spin off, he'd power through and gain extra yardage. But more often than not, he would put on the brakes, go left or go right, and make guys just look really bad in a small area. And he turned it up and went for huge numbers. 1,230 yards, 10.5 yards per carry, 16 scores. And, oh, by the way, 17 receptions, 297 yards, 17 and a half yards per reception, and 4 more scores. So these are all great players. So let's watch some film and let's talk about it. First up, Harlem Berry. Harlem is one of my favorite players to discuss. I know him pretty well. He was really dominant at a 7-on-7. That I saw about a year ago, and he was as good a 7-on-7 player as I saw all year at changing around where they had him, running back, slot, receiver, and still making plays. This is the play I mentioned earlier where he just dominated. Made guys miss, but still only got like 5 yards because he got no blocking. This right here, though, that is effort, my friends. Look at the speed after he changed direction. If you give Harlem the edge, Harlem is going to burn you. That outside ability is phenomenal. Look at him block right here, though. How many guys do you see with his speed and ability go out and make a concerted effort to block on the perimeter? I don't know if there's a better guy at making the first player miss and then putting his foot in the ground and doing it again on the very next step. That is absolutely tremendous. Reminds me a little bit of like Desmond Howard or Rocket Ismail, some of those kind of guys from way back in my day. Look at that. One more play. I mean, he's just got the ability to make it happen. Harlem's special talent. So next up, Mr. Anthony Rogers. And he's similar, but he's a little bit different in how he's built. We call him Turbo. He's now at IMG. Turbo has stronger legs in terms of just how he is built. And watch him hit the hole and really burst. Gets outside, but he sees a crease. That is speed. I don't know why anybody would want to kick it to him. He plays at Pike Road, or did for the last couple of years, and he had tremendous talent around him anyway. Giving him free chances to get a running start doesn't make any sense. And there you can see the quick cutting ability and the burst. Here's a little wing T action. Good patience to cut back and hit the hole. Here's another great example of being patient, getting bottled up, but then using all the effort he could, breaks to the outside and off to the races, where Turbo doesn't lose many races. Nice job making the cutback when the safety over pursued. Little wildcat action again. His vision is really good. You got to give the young man credit. Forget the guy's name, but played for Oregon. Then he went on to the Niners. He reminds me a little bit of him. I can see Turbo in that sense. Man, he's got great wheels. The balance in his lower legs and the ability to power through tackles. When somebody grabs your ankle, that's not easy. Nice change of direction. Almost gave up the football there at the end. Another wing T opportunity. Stays low, uses his vision, and then the burst. One more play from Turbo, and then we will go to Taevion Swint. All right. Taevion is next, and this is a kid that I know well. Taevion hails from Osceola in Kissimmee. Much like some of these other kids, I have no idea why you would want to kick it to him. Really powerful leg, kind of like Turbo in a sense, got really powerful legs. Natural forward lean. It reminds me a lot of Emmett. But look at that right there. When he had his leg wrapped up and he just powered through it. Difficult to understand how a kid that's only 15 years old or so could be like that. Look at the lean and the ability to cut, keep his balance, and still explode immediately when he put his left foot in the ground and went it north-south again. This kid just got absolutely embarrassed, and the same result down the field. The thing you're going to see with him over and over again, this was the two things I saw him play several times. You were going to see teams put 8 in the box because they couldn't throw the ball consistently. And you were still going to see Taevion Swint, regardless, break tackles, make guys look bad in space, and do that right there. Look at the natural stride. It's almost unassuming. Really good job by Taevion using vision all year long. This is against Lakeland. This is one of the games I was at. Good job using his balance. Look at the patience. Nice job. Great catch. That's tough over the shoulder with a guy running right at you. And here's the same kind of deal. What a catch. Nice throw, too. Again, these guys aren't just your running backs that go between the tackles. They make plays all over the field, catching it, kickoffs, pass receptions on wheel routes, etc. This is a really diversified group of running backs down south. Look at the balance. That screams Emmitt Smith in terms of style. I really think so. And he's just flat out determined. Taevion really wants to make you pay for not taking a good angle or not putting enough effort into a tackle. Again, I don't know why would you kick directly to him? I have no idea. Even if you get him, it's probably not going to be your best option. Yeah, he got that ball over midfield. Here's the last play I'll show for Taevion. We will go on to Justin Thurman from here. Justin Thurman, running back out of Jesuit. This is a young man that has a lot of speed, but had to wait his turn. But he did, and it worked out really, really good for him. He's got the right kind of personality, and he's also got the ability to make things happen. Kickoff return, punt return, special teams in general. He'll be a gunner. He'll play corner. But that right there with that speed and that vision, that's why he got the offers from the Floridas and the programs around the South and all over the place, really. I know he's taken several trips all over the country, some in Big 12 country, Kansas State, etc., Missouri. When this isn't your starting running back, by the way, you know you have a really good roster. Tremendous job. Look at the cutting ability. Nice power to break off another run. Yeah, bringing this kid off the bench is really not fair. Good patience, cut, power. He's around 10.8, 10.9 in the 100 meters. So that puts things in perspective. He's also a very determined runner. I think Thurman's upside is absolutely tremendous. Once he gains a little more experience this year, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Here's him playing special teams. A lot of these guys, again, they did what they could to help their teams. I love that. Playing defense, and here again, special teams. Why do you kick to these guys? When you can punt the ball out of bounds, and if it's a kickoff, squib it or kick it to an up man, make somebody who's not a natural guy get the football. One last play from Justin. And it's a touchdown. No big surprise there. Akylin Deer is next. Now, this is more of a traditional power back who can make things happen. But he's also somebody that can really make plays in space when given an opportunity. Nice cut. Look at the ability to accelerate, hurdle a guy, and then break to the outside to maximize the carries or the yardage. Subtle, power, spin, pull away. This is Mississippi, too. He's playing against some guys. Look at the angry running ability from Deer. Are you freaking kidding me? Love it. Yards after carry, ladies and gentlemen, never goes out of style. Very determined. Nothing inside. Let's go outside, make something happen. This is another play where just making a subtle cut for him, which is a really hard cut for anybody else to stay with, mattered. And his acceleration for a guy that's approaching 200 pounds or right at it, really good. Nice cutback. Cuts to the perimeter. See the diversity in this group? They all have different body types, but they're all diverse in how they get to the ball to the goal line. Inside runs, outside runs, some of them on special teams. This is a great young group of 2025 running backs from down south. Nice pass, by the way. One more play, then we're going to go on to Justin Baker there. All right. Now, Justin Baker, just as a reminder, this is a kid that's at Buford High School, one of the best programs in the South and in the country. He's waited his turn. He's going to get more of a shot to carry the ball this next year, but he was still impactful last year. This young man has a burst to him, and he's really balanced in how he takes the football between the tackles. He'll bounce around like a pinball and come out the other side like that. Breakthrough, strong legs, keeps driving. He's got a pretty good amount of speed. This play here is a little better example because they run like old school pro I formation stuff at Buford and try to beat you up. Little pin and pull. He ran right into the linebacker and created his own hole. That kid is not afraid. Great run. That's your backup. I mean, again, they had Haynes there last year, ended up signing with the University of Alabama. Banging off different guys. Seven yards deep. Here we come. Toss sweep. Reads it. cuts back, maximizes the carry. Deandre Desinor will be next. He's the young man that just transferred to American Heritage. Look at all the guys get a chance to tackle him, and he powered through. One more play for Mr. Justin Baker. Really good vision, if I haven't mentioned it already. The little subtle cut there to set himself up maximizes along the sideline. All right. Once again, Desinor is next. This is a kid that played at North Broward Prep last year. He's also going to be the feature runner in certain situations at American Heritage next year. But again, Byron Lewis is there too. He's a national recruit as well. And to have two of them, they might move who's in the slot because they can both catch. Really good combination. Desinor's ability to make plays is pretty impressive. He has the ability to catch it out of the backfield, be a special teams guy, and also he could probably be a pretty good nickel safety if you wanted him to be. Look at the speed, though. Running away from guys is always a good thing. Can't teach it. And here I say it again. Why would you kick it to any of these guys? Just doesn't make sense to me. Excellent vision, arguably even better burst. And that's saying something. Touchdown. North Broward Prep. Oh, let's kick it to him again. Terrible idea. Look at the burst through that hole. It didn't look like he had any chance to get there. Now, that was a massive hole, and he should have hit that. That was really poor defense, but he maximized. Desinor didn't mess around, and he hit it, and it was all over with. Playing a little wildcat, run a little option. One more play. Nice job there after getting the football. Look at him stop and start. Holy moly. That is incredible. He is truly a special player. So Ousmane is a special player too. Kromah, he plays at Lee County in Georgia. It's just outside of Albany, Leesburg, Georgia. Powerful legs, can really churn it. But if you look at him like I did at Future 50, think, he's just traditional running back. I'm telling you, this kid can catch the ball over the shoulder. He can catch the ball in the flat. He can be an inside runner, an outside runner. Very nimble for a kid that's roughly 200 to 210 pounds. And he's playing big boy competition. Lee County is 6A in Georgia. He has a pretty darn good stride to him. He eats up a lot of yards once he gets to top gear. Does the bulk of his work inside. Look at that cut. But he will occasionally bounce it and make you pay. I think as he works more and more on his receiving game, I bet you money that Lee County finds a way to utilize him in different ways in the passing game, whether it's out wide or just traditional screens. There's a nice cutback on an outside run. Nice cutback, found the opening, and it's over. Nice screen right here. Speaking of the screen game. Holy moly. All the way across the field, maximizing that yardage. Traditional pin and pull, kick out, stiff arm, uses the speed. Really good play. Let's watch one more from Kromah. Stop and start. And he just keeps moving the pile. I love that. All right, we got one more guy to talk about. And this is the one I saved it for last just because I think it's fun. From South Carolina, that state per capita is one of the best in the country and just has the ability to hit it and be done. If you do not make the right run fits with your linebackers and safeties, it's over. But he also will grind out yards. He will. He's not the biggest guy, 165, 170 pounds. Marquise is really athletic. He is at Honea in South Carolina. Watch the speed. Whenever he hits the hole and he decides to truly go. And look at the balance. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, but he fights through tackles, even though he's maybe 170 pounds soaking wet during his sophomore year. And the explosiveness there, that's quite evident. Look at that. There's quite a bit of this on the film here. Patience. Gets caught up in the scrum, makes a cut. You think he's going to get tackled, and he just too fast. That's why I picked him. I don't know whose design that was defensively, but I don't think it was executed well, and you give the guy like that the edge, it's over. Really good vision and patience, and man, what an okey-doke right there with the right leg and then cut back to the perimeter, hit it left, and scored. Marquise here, that guy at safety thought he had him. He didn't even touch him. He's outrunning my camera angle here. What a run. Yeah, that was too easy right there. That's just fun to watch, but a lot of speed. One more play here, then we'll wrap up. Again, if you do not contain against somebody like Henderson, it will not end well. All right. So to wrap up, and what I wanted to talk about the most, these are all players that have the ability to make you miss, to catch the ball, be special teams guys, but they come in different packages. The last kid I put next to Kromah on purpose because it shows the diversity they both have, but their frames are completely different, way different. And that's what makes this fun. Makes it way fun. Football is completely different for people that look at this as a situation, well, he's 210, he's got to be a traditional. That's over with. You're going to see, no matter what school you root for, you're going to see more and more of these guys. Which one's the best? That was my question in this. I don't know. Depends on your offense, depends on your opinion. But at the same time, I look at it like this. Any one of these guys can play in a modern offense or play in a 1985, 1990 SEC offense where pretty much everybody either ran option and or ran I formation. So keep that in mind. Please like this podcast. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share it. And for me, like I always say here at CFB Nation, please comment. The reason I do want you to do that more than any other is just because I want to learn as much as you already know about some of these kids probably too. I want to learn from you and you learn from me. If you go to a game and there's somebody like this and you've seen them, talk about it. If you think there's somebody better, make a comment. Everybody gains when people comment on these types of platforms. CFB Nation wants to be as open, as positive as possible. Pretty soon I'm going to be doing some podcasts that are going to go just audio. This is obviously much more suited to visual, so that means YouTube. But soon we're going to have some discussions with some guys that are going to cover South Alabama, going to cover Georgia, cover different parts of Florida. And I'm going to be talking with some of the guys that I know that run different websites, etc. And we're just right around the corner. At the end of this month, I'll be going to high schools. This is the big one. I get to watch practice, get to talk to coaches. It's right down the street here, man. We are right down the street. We're first week of July, but just over a month, there will be high school football games being played. High school games. So with that, please have a safe evening. Hope everybody enjoyed their 4th of July and have a great day.